Okay, welcome back to the channel. You might have noticed that I'm in a completely different location. We're stepping up and we're hopefully going to increase the quality of videos. A lot of people have been asking me to make a beginner SEO course, to release it for free on YouTube, and how can I say no? This course is going to be completely free. It's SEO 101 from scratch, how to do every tiny little detail, and we're going to be going from the basics to the more advanced stuff. Let's just get on with it. You need to think about SEO, whether that's e-commerce, whether that's service-based, whether you just want to make a website to make money, whatever it is. If you're serious about your business, you should also be serious about SEO. Now, the goal of SEO is to make your site findable, searchable, and digestible for Google, not for the user. You don't actually really have to think about the user. For the first kind of month to 5 months, you actually only have to think about Google. How can I get my website found by Google? How can I get it indexed on Google? And how can I rank on Google? Why do you have to make your website searchable by Google? If you think about this from Google's perspective, there are billions, if not trillions, of websites or pages or whatever made every single day. Google does not have the bandwidth, or they don't want to spend the money on crawling or finding trillions of bad websites that offer no real value to anyone. So they have a system to decide, just by looking at the structure of a website, whether a website is good or a website is bad. So if you make a bad website, you have a much less likely chance of ranking. If you make a good website, you have a much higher chance of ranking. A very good example of that is your content management system. Now, if you don't know what that is, then think WordPress, Shopify, etc. You have a much higher chance of ranking if you use Shopify than if you make your own custom code, because most likely the Shopify store is just natively better than something that is custom coded, unless you're a genius at coding. How do they know which websites to scan? How does Google scan them? How does Google choose which pages to actually put on its index? So, crawling, indexing, and ranking. These are the three main systems that Google uses to kind of decide how, where, and why to rank a website. So the first thing that it does is it crawls your website. So what it does is it sends, they're called spiders, and what the spider does is it finds one page and then it looks for other pages that are linked from that page, and it crawls, that's why it's called a crawler, through the entire website. The second part is indexing. So what it does is, once it finds, let's say, this page here, it asks the question, should this be on Google? Okay, it says to the algorithm, this page that you have found, should it be on Google or should it not be on Google? And this is indexing. This is a choice, obviously a programmatic choice, by the Google algorithm. And you can increase the chances of your content being indexed by giving a high quality experience to your users, giving good content. If you just have a blank page called black jeans, you're not gonna rank. If you have a page with 100 pairs of black jeans on it, and a little bit of content at the top, then most likely Google will index you. The final thing they determine is ranking. So once you're indexed, you are probably at number 100, which means you're on page 10, which means nobody will ever see your content. However, if you have good quality content, they might rank you 30th. 2 months later, they might rank you 20th, page 2, and then 10th, which is page 1, and then maybe 5th. Okay, and then eventually, if you have good enough content and you give enough good signals to Google, they will rank you first on Google. So these 3 points are absolutely vital to SEO. Okay, and there's a few different things we can do to encourage crawling of a website or to encourage indexing of a website, like I mentioned before. Having better content than your competitor means you're more likely to get indexed and more likely to rank. However, the original one of crawling is probably the most important one. But if you don't have Google Search Console and you don't have a verified sitemap on Google Search Console, then your likelihood of being crawled is much lower, because Google Search Console talks directly to the Google crawlers, and that is how you increase your chance of getting crawled, for example. But then if you want to increase your ranking, you can optimize the content on the page. You can make the title better. You can go for different keywords. You can add keywords. You can take away keywords. All of that different stuff comes later. But the main thing that you want to focus on in the first 6 months is crawling and indexing, because you cannot rank on Google if you're not indexed on Google. And that's something that people do not understand well enough. They're so focused on ranking that they forget about indexing, they forget about crawling. But you can't rank if you're not crawled, and you can't rank if you're not indexed. But again, you cannot control Google's algorithm, you can just point it in the right direction. So let's talk a little bit about the algorithm. So like I said before, we cannot control Google, but we can affect the way that the algorithm reads our pages and what content we give to the algorithm on those pages. So the thing that chooses what goes where is the algorithm. This is why people panic when there's an algorithm update. So what a lot of people do is they make content, they see what works, and then they double down. And what double down means is they make more of the content that works. But now just imagine for a second that suddenly Google changes what works, right? So now you can maybe understand why people panic, because if you made 100 blog posts on what works 6 months ago, and then suddenly 6 months later, Google suddenly has an algorithm update, this double down method is not a good way of doing things. You need to always have a varied strategy with a lot of different types of content, and a lot of different ways to rank. You can't rely on one strategy. You can't just write the same blog posts over and over. You need a varied SEO strategy. So for example, on one of the websites that I've worked on in the past, which we can see here, if I go on new page and then if I write collections here, you'll see that we've got 2.5k clicks and 300,000 impressions in the last 3 months. But if I do /blogs, we can see that there's 2.5 million and 40,000 clicks. And then if I do /products, we can see 4.2 thousand clicks, 521,000 impressions. So we have 3 different page types. A lot of people, they just say blog, 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 blog. Where's my rankings gone? But if you have many, many different styles and types of content, you have much more chance of ranking in the long term. Okay, let's talk about actually how we can rank, how we can optimize, and how Google decides to rank you or your competitor. Give the searcher what they want. If you have, let's say, a collection or a product category about black jeans and you have blue jeans on there, the user's going to click on there and leave immediately, because they're searching for black jeans and you're showing them blue jeans. So if you show consistently to Google that the page you are getting people to click on doesn't have the content that people want on, they won't rank you. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Give people what they want instantly. So if you have a recipe website and you have, the first 1,000 words is your life story and not the recipe, you're gonna have problems as well. Okay, so give people what they want as soon as they click on the website. Okay, if they're asking a question, answer the question immediately. There's this very, very stupid school of thought that says you need to keep people on the page and therefore I'll put the information they need at the bottom of the page. That's complete crap, okay? You need to give people what they want as soon as they click on your website. The second one is get them to stay on the page. So it is important to get people to stay on the page, but the way that you get people to stay on the page, that's the key. So a lot of things that we do is we do table of contents, which means that people can easily find the information they're looking for. We use a lot of images a lot of images. This is super important because people don't just want to read text, they want to see images. When was the last time you clicked on a blog post and read 3,000 words without any images? Nobody does that. What you need is a lot of images, a lot of graphs, a lot of infographics, a lot of interesting imagery to keep people on the page. The third one is demonstrate EEAT. So EEAT is expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Now, this really confuses people, but it's not as confusing as you might think. Now, one of the main ways to do this is to have an About Us page with pictures of you and your business on there, and anyone that works for you, and links to your LinkedIn profiles and your employees' LinkedIn profiles. Another good way to do this is to have Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, etc., all leading back to your website, so it kind of shows Google that you're a legitimate website, because people who are just making a fake website aren't going to bother doing that. There are many, many other ways to do this as well, making sure that you're giving good information that's correct, etc. Now you can do all of that using automation, using ChatGPT. We're going to be talking about that in much, much later videos in this series. But for now, I just want to focus on the absolute basics. And then the final one is give a good technical experience. So what does that actually mean? It means when someone clicks on your website, it doesn't take 10 seconds to load, it takes 20 milliseconds to load. Or when they click on your website on mobile, it's optimized for mobile and it looks good and it doesn't have formatting issues, etc., etc. So you need to make sure that your website is giving people the experience that people expect in 2024, because most people don't have time to wait 10 seconds, and they won't wait 10 seconds. And if people are clicking on your result and it's taking 10 seconds to load and they're leaving, that is one of the worst signals you can actually give to Google. A user that clicks on your link and leaves before reading content is a terrible signal for Google. It's really, really bad. So finally, let's talk about the question that we asked at the beginning. Why SEO? So, SEO is cost effective. Obviously, this depends on the agency that you work with, but generally speaking, SEO is better value for money than paid ads. Okay? For example, you can spend $5,000 on good SEO and it will actually continue to have an effect for years. Okay? As long as it's good SEO. Obviously, you can have bad SEO, you can have good SEO. That's a whole different topic. SEO is also compounding, which I take to mean that it's like a snowball. Okay, you start the SEO at the beginning, and as long as you do everything very, very well at the beginning, it will snowball into something bigger at the end of it. And then the final thing is it actually just beats other marketing. So what does that mean? I mean that organic searches have a much higher conversion rate, so more people are buying from organic searches, and also the quality of traffic is better, and this is probably the main reason that people actually prefer SEO to something like paid ads. The final thing, actually, let's just have one more, is that it has permanence. It's not permanent, that's probably not how you spell permanence, so that's fine, and then longevity. So I know I mentioned this before when I talked about cost effectiveness, but if you have good SEO done, it will last 15, 20 years, okay? So I made Two Men, it's still growing now, we're not even really adding content to it anymore, like we have recently. But since February 2024, for this 2 months, we didn't add any content, and the website grew. That's kind of, and then if you think about it, when you turn ads off, when you stop paying Meta, when you stop paying Google, the sales will stop immediately. Whereas SEO has permanence, it has longevity. That will not just stop just because you stop doing it, for example. Now you will have to update, you do have to keep, changing things and editing things and posting new content, but it's not like ads where once you stop paying, it just finishes. So guys, that is the first lesson. Why SEO? What is SEO? What are the basics of SEO? SEO 101, let's just call it that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this style of video, please consider joining our live training groups. We do 1 hour a week where we help people like yourselves who are just trying to grow something online. We're really happy with the offering. It's much less expensive than most trainings online. It's actually, I'll just say it here, it's $28 a month, which we feel is incredibly reasonable for 4 hours of lessons every month. And not just that, there's already 12 hours of recordings on there. So we'll leave a link to that in the description. So if you want to check that out, feel free. I hope that you've enjoyed this slightly higher quality video, and I will see you very soon with some more content. Peace out. Hey, you! Subscribe to the channel. Okay.